All right, we're back. No Look Podcast. Your boy Yo Soy, the man, goddamn. T, it's only May, but shit, football season still in full swing. We just had the NFL draft. I mean, the craziest offseason continues. I mean, there was a plethora of trades for between players. Teams are moving up and down on the draft board. It was quite entertaining. One of the better drafts and that I've seen in recent years. And also, I don't know about you, but it felt like it went by pretty quick this time.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, a lot of trades, a lot of teams moving up, a lot of teams, moving back as they normally do. But a lot of teams picking fast. It was kind of rapid fire. It was almost like everybody knew who they were going to pick right before the first pick happened. But definitely an interesting draft. I was, somewhat pleased with how the Raiders selected, of course, but I'm very interested to see how a lot of the future stars of this draft perform on their teams going forward. So
Yeah, I think it was the first draft since like the 90s or something that there wasn't a quarterback taken in like the top 15 picks, something like that, which, it was interesting. Typically, the formula is, top 10, you see at least a few quarterbacks drafted. This year, I think, what was it, pick 20? There's,
pick 20, Kenny
yeah,
Pickett to the Steelers.
Kenny Pickett. Yep.
Homegrown, I don't
Hmm.
think he's from Pittsburgh, but playing as Raiders doing the fucking helicopter behind me.
Yeah.
I don't
Giving
think he
us
was
some
too
entertainment.
I don't think he was too thrilled with that pick, but Kenny Pickett moving locker rooms from across the way to the Steelers. I was surprised. I thought there was going to be another quarterback drafted, but I don't think we saw another one until almost the third round.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't watch. Tyler and I were in New York for a wedding, so we didn't really see much of the next 2 days of the draft. However, I believe it was Malik Taylor was the next one
Malik
taken.
Willis.
Willis, excuse me.
Actually, he wasn't. There was Desmond Ritter that got
Hmm.
drafted before him to the Falcons. So not a lot of quarterbacks taken. And another interesting stat, Austin, correct me if I'm wrong, but Georgia, the first team to ever have 15 people
Hmm.
drafted in the NFL draft, which is just, it's almost like both sides of the ball being drafted. I'm
Yeah.
surprised their kicker and punter didn't get drafted.
Ins-
Hey,
insane,
calm
honestly. I mean,
down.
I feel like majority of
Jesus Christ.
he's going crazy. You got the zoomies back there. I feel like almost all of the starting defense, that was eligible for the draft got picked. The Packers clearly liked what they saw. Took two of the defensive guys in the first round, but we'll dive into it. You want me to
Yeah,
share the screen with you?
yeah, please do. I was looking and I was like, because I remember watching the Michigan versus Georgia game, or was it Georgia versus Alabama in the final game? God, I forget. It felt so long ago. But
Mm, Michigan was in the championship, right?
okay, so it was Michigan
Michigan,
versus, yeah.
yeah,
So I remember Brock Bowers, fucking great name first off.
of course.
Tight end for Georgia. I was like, why didn't he get drafted? I was looking. Dude's
Hmm.
only a freshman.
Yeah.
So the only reason why people on the Georgia team didn't get drafted was either they weren't eligible to, or I think they were the quarterback that at Georgia that nobody really wanted the transfer. I forget what his name was, but Georgia absolutely stacked this year. Anybody that got a Georgia pick, Raiders being one of them, I think landed a pretty good player.
No, for surely. Here, I'm just making the screen a little bit bigger for the people at home. All right, so we'll start off. We'll go in alphabetical order. We got the Arizona Cardinals. I think every team did pretty solid, kind of adjust their needs. Starting off here, Cardinals, they got no first round picks this year. They had Trey McBride out of Colorado State. That was their first pick, not until pick 55 in the second round. I mean, obviously they have Ertz, right? Wasn't a huge concern. I'm not sure if they just went with, the best player available at that pick, which is what it seems like. They got Edge, Cameron Thomas. Uh, oh, here we go, Tyler. Didn't have to wait long for my first mispronunciation. My Jai Sanders. We'll go with that. Keontae Ingram. Oh my goodness, they're making me struggle tonight.
Lasitis,
Lasitis Smith, Christian Matthew, um,
former Penn State great Jesse Lukita. I
Valdo-
don't even know who he is,
Valdosta
but
State. Have you ever heard of Valdosta State before?
yeah, look it up. But it's in Georgia, guaranteed.
Well,
Let's let's see if I'm. Oh, look
public
at that!
university. And so what? This is like Division One, like double A or something. It's probably
That's a
not
good question.
FBS if I had to guess.
14K average cost after it. That's pretty
Not
decent.
bad. Yeah. Affordable school, and clearly they can produce some NFL talent. Is there anyone that jumps off the board at you for this? I mean, obviously the Cardinals, they've been a very offensively minded team. So they go, defense, defense. They got some linemen over here, cornerback, edge, guard. Not a lot of like star power or sexy names. As Raider says, I want my camera time.
I would say the sexiest name, Marquise Hayes, my cousin out of Oklahoma at
Yep.
guard.
Yep.
But no, I'm not a fan of what they did. They didn't, like you said, they didn't get really any sexy players. Obviously, I think the sexiest player that they got was Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown from the
Hollywood.
Ravens. I think that was probably their biggest move of the night. And honestly, we might as well jump into it.
Yeah.
The Cardinals must have known that DeAndre Hopkins was going to be suspended for 6 games for PEDs. That's why they probably went after Hollywood to go pair with AJ Green and also Zach Ertz for Kyler Murray. Which, if they didn't know that, it's definitely smart. Trey McBride, I obviously don't. I'm not too privy on Colorado State football. I don't even know what division they play in, but he's a big 6'4", 250
They're
tight end. So
FBS.
yeah, I mean, they drafted what they needed, as you
Hmm.
can see. They lost Chandler Jones. They got the edge. They lost Kenyon, or not Kenyon Drake. They lost their running backs. They got some running backs. They needed help on the line. So they did all the things that they needed to do. I would give them a solid B. Again, no players that I really know of, but I mean, you look at the schools and those names
Hmm.
minus Valdosta State and Colorado State, and they look pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can't really be too surprised about DeAndre Hopkins, coming out, having it been confirmed and proven that he used PEDs. I mean, he had to have been injecting them right into his hands, Tyler, right? He's got like 3 drop passes in the past 5 years or something crazy like that. This guy just does not drop passes at all. Um, but yeah, if you count in the Hollywood Brown acquisition as part of this draft, which, technically trading away your first round pick, I would try to include it in there. I'd give them a B as well. They just Cardinals for me, they don't really move the meter, Tyler.
Yeah.
They always talk about Kyler Murray. He's definitely a prolific, a fun guy to watch, but just for whatever reason, I'm not sure if it's Kingsbury or something going on in that coaching locker room, but they just haven't been able to really get over the playoff hump. So I would go ahead. I would agree with you. And, I'd give
Yeah.
him a B. Pro Football Focus gave him a B minus.
I mean, and the thing that I look at too is overall scope in the division. Obviously, the Rams are probably going to be just as good as they were last year. And also, the Seahawks drafted really well, which we'll probably get into. So, I mean, and also they have the 49ers in that division, who
Hmm.
we really don't know what direction they're going to go quarterback wise. So, the question that I always ask after the draft is, did this team make themselves better, towards the next season? I don't know if
Hmm.
the Cardinals are a better team than last year after this draft.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Kyler might have to just switch up careers and go play in the MLB because his football career clearly hasn't taken off quite yet. Moving down the line, we got the Atlanta Falcons. First of many wide receivers taken in the first round. We have Drake London out of UFC, Arnold Abiketi, Abiketti,
E-bike tie. That's how what I see.
Bike tie. Okay, that sounds a lot better. Troy Anderson, Desmond Ritter, quarterback, like you mentioned, was the second one taken off the board in the third round. D'Angelo Malone, Tyler Algier, we'll go with that. Justin Schaefer, John Fitzpatrick. I'm interested in that Ritter
Georgia
pick.
players. Wow.
Yeah, more Georgia players down the line. Obviously, right now they have Mariota as their QB1. Probably not someone who's going to get them to the promised land. Obviously, they're still in rebuilding stages. They got another weapon on the offensive side of the ball, really in that wide receiver locker room that just got decimated. Coming on the heels of that Calvin Ridley suspension, they lost Zacchaeus. I can never remember his name.
What?
The wide receiver,
Calvin
something,
Ridley?
some with a Z.
Zacchaeus?
Zacchaeus. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Linebacker, edge players. Nothing really jumps off the board to me. It's tough, Tyler, to really give grades, in my opinion, to teams that need so much. It's like everyone's like, oh, the Jets had a phenomenal draft, but it's like, okay, they need to fill, majority of their starting spots on both sides of the ball. So, I
Yeah.
mean, for me, I'll go on the positive side. I think they addressed two of their top needs at wide receiver and quarterback. So I'll give them a B plus.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on the B plus. I love this Drake London pickup, and I love Desmond Ritter. I think Desmond Ritter is probably one of the most underappreciated quarterbacks in college football history. He did great things at Cincinnati, and I think he's actually going to be it might translate very well, kind of similar to a not as good as a Russell Wilson, but he has similar statutes of Russell Wilson. So and the Drake London big body guy,
Mm-hmm.
exactly what they needed to complement Kyle Pitts. I think this is going to help. I love Marcus Mariota. Was a part of the Raiders last season. I think he's still got a lot of talent left. I think this will be a good rebuilding year.
But is he an every down quarterback? And if he does play every down, is he going to make it through the whole season?
Well,
As
that's
we know, Mariota's been plagued with injuries throughout his career.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. Mariota is a good buffer in between that time that they may, say Desmond Ritter, it's your time up. So I think, Mariota is going to be that good buffer, but obviously he's not going to be their everyday quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Falcons drafted well. I do love former Penn State great Arnold E-Bike Tie. So,
Yeah,
uh,
he's from Penn State. You gotta be able to say his
yeah.
name. Okay, so Tyler, question for you then. What week in this upcoming season do we see Desmond Ritter start for the Falcons?
Well, I'm gonna say the Falcons are gonna make an early exit out of the playoff hunt, so probably closer to like week 15,
Mm-hmm.
unless Mariota tears his ACL first game, which is highly probable.
Or in preseason, which is probably even more probable. I would say week 4 we see Ritter in there.
No
Um,
shot.
Anytime you draft a guy this high and someone who doesn't have a solid hold, grasp on that starting quarterback position, I think they're going to experiment. And also, I think the things that Mariota did well with the Raiders, he was put in those situational, in certain positions, formations, play type, stuff like that. I don't think they're going to lean on him and rely on him to be an every down quarterback.
I mean, you say this early, but it's pick 74, round 3. It's not like pick 3 in the first round. So
Yeah, but for the quarterbacks drafted, that's pretty high, number 2 off the board.
I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah,
I
we'll
don't think
see.
week 4 though. They signed Mariota to a pretty hefty deal, so
Pro Football Focus gave him an A. That's pretty high. Baltimore Ravens. I mean, they gotta be paying their front office pretty well because they have a perennial strong draft. Obviously they had Patrick Queen, Bateman last year. They go out, they take a risk on um, Lamar. He pays off in the end. This year, nice pick here. Kyle Hamilton, safety. A lot of, I think, scouts were pretty high on him. Tyler Lindenbaum. I think they traded up to this pick, right? I
I'm
think
pretty sure they did.
I
Yeah.
think they traded one of their later picks or maybe next year's pick to get back into the first round, um, get a nice center. Anytime it's like, what is it? You get like wide receivers from Alabama, and then you get linemen from Iowa. Anytime you pick
Yeah.
one of those guys, they're just
Or tight
studs.
ends.
Tight ends as well. Yep. Uh,
I love now. Let me tell you why I love this Tyler Lindenbaugh pick real quick.
tell me.
Besides
Besides,
his first name,
I was gonna say, yep.
he's undersized at center, but I think it's the most perfect pick for Lamar Jackson's offense because he's going to be able to get down the field a lot quicker, especially
hmm
to pass or run block for Lamar. I just think it's a perfect pick, and honestly, I this guy is in my mind one of the best centers coming out in the past 5 years. I think he's going to be one of those guys that is going to be in the league for a very long time, barring any career-ending injuries. But I think
hmm
he's going to have a very long-lasting career for the Ravens. Now, Austin, do you remember the last Ravens center that they had before the current one that they have now?
No shot.
Ryan Jensen, who plays for the Tampa Bay Bucks and won the
Okay.
Super Bowl with them.
Okay. So clearly the Ravens know what they're doing on
Yeah.
draft night. To round out, they got David Ajabo, edge player from Michigan. Travis Jones. Don't see too
Who?
many.
Mike
Travis Jones.
Jones.
Yeah. Don't see too many Connecticut guys getting drafted. Daniel Falele. Falele. Um, Interesting. You don't see too many back-to-back A's in any kind of name besides when it's for Ron. Jalen Armour Davis. That's a pretty sick last name, Armour. I haven't seen that too much. He's definitely got to be signed to Under Armour. Charlie Collar, Jordan Stout, Isaiah
Former Penn State
Likely,
great.
Demarion Williams, and Tyler Batty. Another great last name. I mean, let's dive into the
Uh,
positions though, Tyler. Obviously, Ravens. It's no secret that they're a defensive-minded team. They go out there first round, they get a safety. After Linderbaum, they get an edge, defensive interior guy. They go tackle, cornerback, and get another cornerback. And it doesn't even say what position Batty is. I don't know if I'm gonna click on this. It's gonna take me to a porn website or something. uh,
5'8"? He
five
has to be
eight,
a
one
kicker.
ninety
I think
seven.
he's a kicker. No, there's no shot. They have Justin Tucker.
It doesn't even say what position he is.
Unreal fucking last name,
Games
might I add.
played.
Tyler Batty.
What the fuck?
Dude's a baddie.
Well, now I gotta look him. I gotta search him. Okay, looks like he's
Oh,
a wide receiver. Oh no, running back. All right.
oh.
So I mean, they kind of addressed that need. Obviously, with Dobbs going out last year, they kind of had a carousel with Freeman, Latavius Murray. So they go out and get Tyler Batty. Great last name. Overall, solid draft. I would give him an A.
They got two Tylers, too. Wow, I
Yeah.
just realized that.
Tyler's gonna give him an A plus now.
Well, I was gonna give them an A. I think they drafted really well. Kyle Hamilton, I think, is one of the better defensive secondary players in this draft. And obviously, I love the Linderbaum pick, but I think they drafted exactly what they needed. I think, and here's the thing: that we're big. What are we, Austin? In this podcast, big, not calculation guys, but formula guys. That's
Formula
what
guys, yep.
the formulas
Mathematician.
you in draft night. You get what you need. You fill the positions that you need to fill. You get some Tylers in there, maybe some Penn State guys. Now look, the Ravens did all of that. I have to give them an A. I'm very close to giving an A
Yeah.
plus. But I mean, that's just a formula for success. I think the Baltimore Ravens drafted very well, so they definitely get an A in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, when you have that many picks, 11 picks overall in this year's draft, it's tough to miss that many times.
They
Uh,
were like honorable mention for one of my biggest winners.
yeah, no, for sure. Buffalo Bills, first round, Khair Elam. We got cornerback out of Florida. There are a lot of defensive backs taken in the first round, Tyler. It's kind of interesting to see. Obviously, we'll get to the Texans, at pick 4, who took a corner. Terrell Bernard, Khalil Shakir, Matt Areza, Christian Benford, Luke Tenuta, Baylor Spector. Don't know much about these guys. I mean, again, the Bills. I can't really think. Obviously, there maybe offensive line, the running back situation they addressed in the second round. James Cook. We haven't really seen Singletary or what's the other guy? John, I'm having a brain fart
Zach
right now.
Moss,
Zach Moss. He's been hurt. Haven't really seen
Matt
them.
Breida.
Yeah, he's definitely a certified third down back. Haven't
Yeah.
really seen them come into their true form. So, be interesting to see what happens with James Cook. Other than that, punter in the sixth round, uh, probably could have got him on waivers, free
Put
agency
some
after the
respect on
draft.
that dude, Austin. Austin didn't do
Oh,
his
it's
research
San
on this
Diego
guy.
State. That's the guy who's crazy, isn't it?
Punk God.
Yeah.
Now let me do my best Hulk Hogan rendition.
Okay.
Let me tell you something, brother. I absolutely love what the Bills did here, and I'll tell you why. Elam, I think, is the best, and I will say this wholeheartedly. I think he's the best cornerback in this draft. I think he had a lot of things go against him the past 2 years. If he came out 2 years ago, I think he would have been the first cornerback taken. I think he's a very physical cornerback that's going to fit in very well with the Bills Mafia. And I saw a TikTok, Austin, that the Bills
Mm-hmm.
posted that he told the GM, he said, put that playbook on that plane for him to read when he comes to Buffalo. That, I don't know about you, but that shit gets me charged up. I'm ready
Mm.
to run through a fucking wall or jump through a table on the second story off a bus. I don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
the second pick, James Cook, which is Dalvin Cook's brother. I love this pick. James Cook was a very versatile back
So
who
he's gonna
scored
be
for the
good and then get injured 5 times a year.
Possibly. But I do love that pick. And then the Khalil Shakur from Boise State. He's an elusive wide receiver. I think that's a good one. And of course, Punk God, Matt Araiza, who I think he averaged, correct me if I'm wrong, Austin,
Mm-hmm.
51 yards per punt, which is just unheard of.
Sounds pretty girthy there, Tyler. Not a big punt guy. Sorry, McAfee, not for the brand, I guess. I mean, I would say my only takeaway, I would say from this draft, Tyler. Obviously, Bills losing in the divisional round to the Chiefs last year. It was a complete shootout. Obviously, we know
Yeah.
they can put points on the board. Um, they did address some of their defensive woes. I would have liked to see them go after more of an edge rush type guy. If you're gonna, you got to be scheming against Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. You want to contain the quarterback. Those guys are so elusive. Get outside the pocket and just make crazy plays with their legs. I would have liked to have seen them draft more of a pass rusher type guy. So that's my only takeaway. I do like the James Cook pick. Um, special teams is a big area that's not often talked about. So if this guy Matt Araiza is as good as people say, then that could maybe potentially be a steal right there. But I'll give the Bills a B+ on this one.
I'm gonna give the Bills an A. Um, this was my favorite pick of the draft with that Kaiir Elam pick in the pick number 23. I think this makes Buffalo a total shutdown defense. Oh, let's not forget they added Von Miller in the offseason, so they have so many different players that will shut down a lot of big name players in the AFC. So I think this really puts the Bills in that upper echelon. And honestly, after this draft, I could definitely see them being the favorites in the AFC to go to the Super Bowl.
Well, that's a lot to say right there because the AFC is definitely, the top conference right now. If we're talking about AFC versus NFC, just a lot more competitive. And when you look at that, B+, Pro Football Focus agrees with me. Moving on, Carolina Panthers. They took a guard at the 6th overall pick, Ikem Ikwanu. I think I got that one, Tyler. Matt Corral, Mississippi guy. He was up and down on a lot of guys' draft boards. Brandon Smith. Go ahead, Tyler.
Former Penn State great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mari Barno, uh, Cade Mays, and Kalen Barnes. Nothing sexy here, Tyler. No, again, Panthers, one of those teams. Uh, they needed a lot of guys, a lot of positions filled. We don't know what's going on with their quarterback situation. As you can see, they kind of addressed that with Matt Corral in the third round. Don't know if Sam Darnold's going to be the guy week 1 or beyond. there's a lot circulating about Christian McCaffrey. They didn't address a running back here, so maybe that signs point in the direction of him staying, if he can stay healthy. Other than that, nothing too crazy. I mean, you might have a little bit more insight. We got Tyler Kuiper over here. He's got all the the breakdowns for the wide receivers out of the Mountain West Conference.
Well, I did talk to my scouts of the Carolina Panthers at Dan's wedding this past weekend. His cousin Matt, which is also my cousin, and his brother Kyle. They said that they love this Akeem Ekwonu pick at 6. I said, why not go Neal? They said Ekwonu is a better run blocking lineman, which, if you're going to protect your asset and Christian McCaffrey, then that's the best way to do it. I also really do like this pick at round 6, Amari Barno. I think he's going to be an absolute stud in the league. If you do see him in the future, just know where you heard it here. You heard it here first. Matt Corral.
No Look Podcast.
Ole Miss. This guy, if he did not get injured this past season, Austin, I think he would have been a bona fide first-round pick. So I love this pick by the Panthers. We'll see how he comes back from that leg injury. I'm going to give the Panthers a solid A-. I think they got everything that they needed. Obviously, there's still a lot of questions in the air with Christian McCaffrey, but in terms of drafting, I think they made their team a lot better than it was before, and they got players that they definitely needed to, and a lot of bargain picks. Matt Corral at 3rd round and Barno at 6th.
Yeah, I may be a little bit more judgmental than you, but I'm gonna give him a solid B for this one. Nothing really jumps off the board at me. I mean, the wide receiver room, they got DJ Moore. Robbie Anderson, who
for now
had who had a completely abysmal year last year. Robbie Anderson, I don't even know if he had over 500 yards receiving. And trust me, I know all about that because he was on my team. And the only good games that he had throughout the year when he caught a touchdown is when he was on my bench. So I will not be touching him next year, to say the least.
Yeah, I will not be touching Saquon Barkley. So
no. Chicago Bears. Here's an interesting one. Another team, Tyler, that needs a lot of positions filled. We got Kyler Gordon, a cornerback in the 2nd round. No first-round picks here. Jaquan Brisker.
Former Penn State great.
Former Penn State great. It's a nice name. Rolls off the tongue pretty well. Velus Jones Jr. It's another fun one. Braxton Jones. Dominique Robinson. Hey, Mr. Robinson. Zachary Thomas. Treston Ebner. Doug Kramer, Jatire Carter. Those hyphen names always throw me off. I don't know which way the hyphen is throwing it. Elijah Hicks and Trenton Gill. So Chicago Bears, Tyler, they lost Allen Robinson, right, to free agency, right? Or am I being confused? He went to the Rams, right?
Yes,
yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Didn't get a wide receiver until round 3. I don't know much about Velus, but he's playing in the SEC, so I'd have to imagine that if he was the top receiver on that team, he's got to have some NFL ready talent. I do like this Elijah Hicks pick. Safety out of California. I don't know why. Maybe just being out in California, I feel like I saw him play a little bit. No, I'm not joking with you.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, what?
I watched a lot of college football this season. Just hanging out with the boys on a Saturday, crushing some claws, and they got those local West Coast games on at noon time. So I've seen him play. I think that's a good steal right there. They had to address a lot of guys. Obviously, they lost Adrian Amos a while back to the Packers. Never really filled his shoes since. Dominique Robinson, Braxton Jones. I mean, I will say, Tyler, the main thing I'm just looking at this position-wise, I like the variety. I feel like they kind of sprinkled all over the place. They addressed a lot of needs. So I honestly, I'll give the Bears an A- for this one. I think they did a pretty good job.
I'm going to be a little bit harsher. I'm going to give them a B+. I do love that Jaquan Brisker pick. I'm going to go on the opposite end of the spectrum of you because any Penn State, and this isn't me being biased or anything, maybe a slightly.
Oh, it is, but
any
Just own
defensive
it.
Penn State, yeah, I mean, any defensive Penn State player that's being drafted this year, you have to know is going to be a high value NFL pick. Uh, James Franklin had one of the best defensive teams besides Georgia, maybe Alabama, maybe some others. But this year in college football, I think Jaquan Brisker is going to be a top notch safety in the NFL. He's going to work very well with what the Bills usually offer defensively because they always play super tough defensively. He's a big safety. Maybe probably take a little bit of reps from your boy from California, Elijah Hicks. But I said B plus, right? Or did I say B?
You said B plus.
B plus. And the reason why it's a B plus, I like the variety, but it's so low because I don't like that they didn't really get Justin Fields many weapons offensively. Losing Allen Robinson's huge, but they really only have who's the one wide receiver that they have that they always throw to?
Anthony Miller.
Nope. The other guy. The fast one. He's like super fast. He's always down the field.
I don't know. He was the third option this year, but
well, he was on my fantasy team. I remember that, but
okay.
Yeah, I just wish they got Justin Fields a little bit more help offensively. They did with the line, but a lot of late value picks. But they got 3 tackles and a center, so B plus.
Yeah, definitely. They got to get Jaquan Brisker a barbecue deal.
Oh,
he's one letter off of being a smoked meat. So they gave him a B minus. They're a little bit more critical of him. Cincinnati Bengals coming off that Super Bowl run, or, appearance run. Obviously they have a solid team, Tyler. Definitely on the offensive side of the ball.
Darnell Mooney, that's what I'm thinking
Mooney,
of.
okay, yep. He was a rookie last year, right?
Yeah, maybe. They also have Equanimeous St. Brown, one of my favorite names to say.
Yeah, they just took him from the Packers, which we will not miss. Bengals, so round 1, second and last pick, they got Daxton Hill, another safety, Cam Taylor-Britt, Zachary Carter, Cordell Volson, Tyson Anderson, Jeffrey Gunter. Tyler, we're seeing they trade away a lot of their picks, clearly. They did make some good acquisitions in the offseason, right? They got those 2 linemen, 3 linemen, if I'm remembering correctly. So here they load up on the defensive side of the ball. They go safety, corner, D-line, and finish it out with an edge. Or safety and an edge. So they only go offense with 1 pick, Tyler. They got a tackle, North Dakota State. Not much here for me, honestly. I'll have to give the Bengals maybe like a B minus. I don't really know like what more target areas. I know maybe tight end position, which I don't see them addressing in the draft here. Give Joe Burrow kind of that over the middle blanket. But other than that, just decent. That's all I can say.
I'm gonna give them a B plus. I do like the way that they went. Help at the secondary was obviously the biggest concern. After being scorched in the Super Bowl on OBJ, Cooper Kupp, you name any receiver got scorched, a la Eli Apple. So I think drafting, the safety from Michigan, cornerback, getting the secondary that they need to kind of pad what they already have. As you said, they don't really have many positions that they need to fill, but I think they addressed the ones really early that they absolutely needed to, and maybe got some guys that they felt that they got good value in. So I'm gonna give them a B plus, and primarily a lot of this grade also reflects what they did. Getting Lyle Collins, Kappa, and some the other dude in free agency for their offensive line to protect Joe Burrow. So Bengals, they're definitely another one of my favorites in the AFC. This year too. So
yeah, we'll see what happens. Pro Football Focus B plus, right on par with your boy Yosoy. Moving on, Cleveland Browns.
You said B minus. I said B plus.
Oh, delete the VOD. Delete the VOD. Anyways, Cleveland Browns. So no picks in the first 2 rounds. They start off with a corner, Martin Emerson. Then they get Alex Wright. David Bell, unsure if he's related to Drake. What's his name? Drake Bell? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Perrion Winfrey, Cade York, Jerome Ford, Michael
Kicker.
Woods the second, Isaiah Thomas, Dawson Deaton. I'm probably going to have to give the Browns a C+. just demote them into that C category because they drafted a kicker before the last round. I mean, LSU, SEC, you know,
They like Oklahoma players.
yeah, I guess so. Clearly, I mean, one, two, three of those guys. Yeah,
And
but
they
yeah,
weren't even good this year.
unless this dude's kicking like 60 yarders with the wind in his face, anytime you draft in a kicker before the last round is just completely egregious in my opinion. So
I
I'm
don't
giving him a
agree.
C plus.
I don't agree. 2001, Sebastian Janikowski, Oakland Raiders, first round. Fucking legend.
That's 1 in a million right there.
Name another kicker that you wouldn't want on your team than Sebastian Janikowski. Dude comes in hungover, slinging fucking. He's like, put me in, coach. But Sebastian, it's a 70-yard field goal. Put me in.
Dude probably would have been even better if he played when the Raiders were in Vegas too. Fucking come right from the strip club or the casino.
I don't think he would have been alive.
Yeah.
Austin, I'm agree with you. What'd you say? C plus, C minus,
C plus.
C plus. I'm gonna go C. I actually hate every single one of these picks. I don't like the Browns and what they've done. I just don't know any of these players. I don't know if they're any good. And like I said, I don't think you can trust Oklahoma players. They haven't been good this past year. They were a very mid team, and this is a very mid grade for Cleveland. That is, in my opinion, very mid. So
Yeah. I mean, shit. They're gonna be starting Donovan Peoples-Jones and frickin' David Bell at wideout this year if Jarvis Landry leaves. I mean, there's something about that. But yeah, well, that's not gonna help Deshaun whatsoever. Moving on, America's team, Dallas Cowboys. Round one, they go offensive lineman Tyler Smith out of Tulsa, Sam Williams, Jalen Tolbert, Jake Ferguson, Matt Matt Waletzko, there we go. Deron Bland, Damon Clark, John Ridgway, Devin Harper here. So Cowboys, I'm trying to think, Tyler, you know, they lost.
Amari Cooper.
Well, they lost Cooper. Okay, yeah. So the Browns, obviously, they'll have Cooper as well. Forgot about that. Cowboys lost Cooper to the Browns, so they wait till round 3 to address that. Jalen Tolbert, obviously, Tyler, they paid Michael Gallup all that money. He was dealing with a serious injury at the end of last year. I like the Jake Ferguson pick. I think we can put Wisconsin tight ends kind of grouped in with those Iowa boys. Matt Waletzko, that's just a funny looking last name out of North Dakota. So I'll give them 1+ bonus point for that. But other than that, I guess they kind of did address the offensive lineman situation, which is where they were struggling at. Clearly Dak had not a lot of time to get the ball out to his guys when he was in the pocket. Some other guys on the defense, nothing crazy. I would say B- for the boys.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna agree with you on that one. B minus. That Tyler Smith pick, kind of confusing. Maybe not the most confusing pick in the first round, but I think a lot of it was just a lot of tape. Tulsa doesn't obviously play the best of the best in college, but I guess they saw a lot in him. They, like you said, they did address the offensive line. How much was addressed, getting a fifth rounder tight end out of North Dakota really going to help them. But, I think that the Cowboys really stay in that where they were last season, maybe even a little bit worse because of what other teams in their division did. So I'll agree with that B minus. Nothing too crazy from them.
Yeah, I mean, especially with what the Eagles did, everyone's saying that they potentially have taken over the top spot in the NFC East. Moving on, Denver Broncos. No pick in the first round. Nick Benito, we got an edge rusher out of Oklahoma, their first pick in the draft. Greg Dulcich, Damari Mathis, Aoma Wazakurik. They're just trying to get me canceled or something here. It's not my fault. I'm sorry. I need a Siri pronunciation or something. Let's try this one more time. Aoma Uwazurik. I think I got it that time.
That's better.
Uwazurik. DeLauren Turner, Montreal, Washington, Luke Wattenberg, Matt Henningsen, and Hicks. I liked, an edge rusher, Oklahoma. I like that pick. They've always, Oklahoma's been a top team in the football playoffs these past few seasons. Addressing the tight end need. I mean, Tyler, clearly your boy Noah Fant, they don't have a lot of faith in him there if they're picking tight end in the third
Well, he
round.
got traded to Seattle.
So clearly they need to fill that that hole that is now there because of Noah Fant being traded. Well, that makes sense then why they're taking a tight end in the third round. Anyways, um, maybe the craziest name thus far coming out of my boy from Iowa State, edge rusher, um, Denver Broncos again, kind of addressing a lot of guys. They had a stout defense last year, Tyler. I think they're kind of. I don't want to say they focus too much on bolstering that defense. Um, Obviously, Russell Wilson, he's got targets. I think they could have maybe addressed the lineman situation in Denver a little bit better for him. Russ is getting up there in age. He's another one of those guys, Tyler, that's done a lot on his feet, kind of evasiveness coming out of the pocket, making crazy throws on the run. I think they shouldn't have waited until round 5 to pick a lineman. That's probably my only takeaway. I would give the Broncos, I'll give them a solid B.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. That's kind of where I was. Great point by the way of linemen. I do think that the Broncos probably don't have a lot of great linemen. I know that who was their quarterback last year?
Well,
Shit.
Lock, Jake
Yeah,
Locker, right?
Drew Lock
Drew
didn't
Lock,
really have a
yeah.
lot of time last year in the
Well,
pocket. They didn't really have a lot of, or wasn't Teddy Bridgewater also their quarterback for a little bit too?
yeah, they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. They were just trying
Yeah.
to win as many games possible without being a laughing stock of the division.
Regardless, didn't address the offensive line, but defense wins championships in Ray Lewis's motto. So I
Mm.
love this Nick Bonito pick, absolute value pick. Dude's a stud out of Oklahoma. I think this is a great pickup from them, and they did address a lot of the needs on defense. So
Yeah.
they do have a lot of studs on at wide receiver, a lot of options for Russell to throw to, just like my Las Vegas Raiders. If Russell has time and Derek Carr has time to get to those value players on their team, then so be it. But without an offensive line, I don't see that happening.
Talking about the divisional rivals, dude still has to throw Derek Carr and the Raiders in there somehow. Detroit Lions with the second overall pick in this year's NFL draft. They pick Aiden Hutchinson. I think, obviously right there, Tyler, that's a great pick for him. He was a guy that many thought could have gone first overall. He kind of fell in their lap. I think this guy, he's going to be a dynamic playmaker. You talk about TJ Watt, the Bosa brothers, just seeing how disruptive they can be at that edge rush position. I think you can almost put him in that category. Obviously, it'll be remain to be seen how he does in his rookie year. Jameson Williams, they had 2 picks in the first round. Alabama wide receiver. Obviously, they call Alabama the 33rd team of the NFL. So this guy's going to come in week 1, game day ready. Josh Patchell, I believe it's pronounced. Edge rush out of Kentucky, another great pick, Tyler, SEC. If I'm not mistaken, he was one of the top, picks or projected for last year's draft. Ended up staying, dropped into the second round. So I think this could be a great value pick for the Lions here. Kirby Joseph, James Mitchell, Malcolm Rodriguez, James Houston the fourth, and Chase Lucas. Honestly, they are one of those teams that need a lot, Tyler. However, I think they address their top needs and obviously the value players that they selected for the picks they had. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna give the Lions a solid A on this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you again on this one. In terms of grades, I'll give the Lions an A. I think Aiden Hutchinson should have been the first overall pick. Although I didn't really love him in the championship game, I do think this dude's a stud. He's huge, big body. He's quick off of his feet. And then Jameson Williams, who's dropped, he might have been the number one wide receiver in the draft picked if he didn't get injured this past season in
Hmm.
Alabama. So, the Lions really got probably one of the best players in the draft and also the best wide receivers in a wide receiver heavy draft this season. So yeah, I mean an A, very close to an A plus for the
Mm.
Lions, but I can't do it.
Pro Football Focus did it. They gave him an A plus. And Tyler, here we go. We're landing on the team that hails from Titletown, USA, the Green Bay Packers. Um, yeah, you may be interested into hearing what I have to say,
I
Tyler.
am very
But
interested. I'm
let's get
all
into
ears.
it. Round
Although
one,
although they're small, I am all ears.
getting covered up by those giant headset over there. So they go Quay Walker, Tyler, which many people think was like the fifth or sixth best linebacker in the draft, and I think he was what the first or second taken. Something must be up with Dean, right? Was the other linebacker from
Yep.
Georgia. I will say, I kind of compare this to Rashawn Gary in years past, which that pick has panned out. He kind of fell into the Packers' lap, dropped a few picks back just because of his, play style and commitment to the game. But much like Rashawn Gary, Quay Walker is a freak of nature. I mean, his numbers at the combine, his physical stature, he's definitely got the NFL body. Hopefully, the Packers can transform him into that NFL linebacker position. Devontae Wyatt, Tyler, a lot of guys have rated him as the number one defensive interior lineman. I think this is a little bit better pick than the Quay Walker pick. This made more sense at the 28th pick. Christian Watson. I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical on guys from that Division One AA type system, North Dakota State. Everyone's saying, oh, he can be wide receiver one day one. I'm not so sold on that. I think this wide receiver pick was almost more so replacing MVS when we're out here trying to replace the top receiver, Devontae Adams, in football, or formerly the top receiver in football.
Oh,
He might have moved down my my rankings a little bit now. They go tackle here, Sean Ryan out of UCLA, great head of hair. They double down on the wide receiver. I actually like this Romeo Doubs pick. I watched a little bit of film on him. He seems like a little bit more physical, route running, hands type guy, a little bit more Devontae esque. Zach Tom, Wake Forest, Kingsley and Nagbar, Tariq Carpenter, Jonathan Ford, Rasheed Walker, and then they
former
close
Penn State great.
former, and they close it out with Samori Torrey, hometown guy in Nebraska. So Tyler, you ready for my ranking?
Yes, yes.
I'm giving the Packers a B minus for this one.
Wow.
A couple
Much
picks.
respect.
I don't hate the Quay Walker pick at 22. I really like the Devontae Wyatt pick at 28. However, I don't think they should have had either of those picks, Tyler. I think they should have traded up. There was so much top tier wide receiver talent. I think the guy from Arkansas that Tennessee ended up picking at 18 was the
Traylon Burks.
Burks was the last of that top tier talent at the wide receiver position. Obviously, they traded up to get Christian Watson. Don't know much about him, but I'm not very impressed with the film that I've seen. Um, I think they had so many picks. They had a lot of stuff they could have moved around. I don't love it, Tyler. Um, let's see here. They got the tackle. I do like the Sean Ryan pick.
I love that Sean Ryan pick.
I think he can fill in for Bill Turner at that right tackle position probably week one. Hoping they get Elton Jenkins back. They have Bakhtiari. That's going to be a solid line right there. But it's like, who's Rodgers throwing the ball to? I will not feel comfortable if we're lining up Christian Watson, Sammy Watkins, and Romeo Doubs as our top three. Randall Cobb in the slot maybe. We see what Philly did. They got their guy AJ Brown. They're gonna pay him in this offseason. They already did. Cardinals. They probably knew that Hopkins was going to be suspended for a little bit. They went out. They got Hollywood Brown. Clearly, these teams were taking calls on their top wide receivers, and the
Mm-hmm.
Packers did not pick up the phone to dial anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I really hope I'm wrong, after this season concludes. But I'm gonna give them a B minus. I'm not. I don't love it, Tyler. I don't love it.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on this one. I think their one shining spot, as you said, Devontae Wyatt, but Sean Ryan, who I was very upset that the Packers picked because the Raiders had I think they had multiple opportunities to get him, and I really wanted him. He was on my big board
Hmm.
as a Raiders fan, but the Packers scooped him up, and I thought it was an absolute gem of a pick. I think he's one of the best tackles in this draft and slid down to the third round. But again, you bring up a very good point. Trading the 22nd, they don't even have to trade both of them. They could have just traded the 22nd, maybe next year's first round
Yeah.
or whatever, up a little bit to get, maybe a Jameson Williams from
Well,
Detroit.
they had two. Not to cut you off. Obviously we're talking Packers. I'm getting a little
Yeah,
animated.
it's all good.
They had 2 second-round picks, which clearly they traded one
Yep.
or both of theirs to move up to that early round 2 to get Watson. Why not trade the 22nd and the one of their second-round picks, the earlier one probably, to a team if they were willing to move up into the top 15? They could have got Burks. I really liked him, route running guy, big body receiver. Obviously London, he was probably off the board too soon.
Yeah. I think they
Same
were
with the Ohio State guys, but
I think Dotson, former Penn State great, not being biased here, but I think Dotson would have fit perfectly with Rodgers.
I wouldn't have
Um,
liked that. I would not have liked that.
I
He's
would have
too
loved that.
small. He's too
I
small.
I just think he's a perfect route runner for Rodgers. He's only dropped 2 balls in his career at Penn State. I think he's a fantastic wide receiver in terms of you throw the ball up anywhere, he's gonna go get in. Oh, you have the best accurate throwing quarterback in the NFL throwing to you. I think it just makes him that much better.
Hmm.
But no, I agree wholeheartedly with you. I think they should have traded up. Maybe they tried, they couldn't. Maybe the NFL was blackballing them. But
Hmm.
I think the Packers could have done a lot better in terms of maybe grabbing one defensive player, but also grabbing somebody for Aaron Rodgers to get.
Definitely. I mean, I can only hope that they still have something up their sleeve in free agency because right
Yeah.
now that offense is not ready week 1, in my opinion. I mean, Pro Football Focus might have given them a little bit benefit of the doubt with the B plus. I'm gonna let you start us off for the remainder of the teams here. So once that screen catches up.
Yeah, no problem. Next up, Houston Texans. Derek Stingley at third pick, round one. They had 2 round 1 picks. Kenyon Green out of Texas A&M, addressing the offensive line position. Jalen Petre out of Baylor. Wide receiver John Mechie, the third out of Alabama, which I really like that pick in round
Hmm.
2. Linebacker Christian Harris out of Alabama went back to back. Running back Damian Pierce out of Florida. Thomas Booker, defensive lineman out of Stanford. I also like that pick too by the Texans. Tight end Tegan Quitoriano, Oregon State. You see
Pretty
what I did
good.
there? Thank you. And rounded it out with Austin Declius. I think I nailed that.
Tequila, yeah. No,
Declius.
I've definitely, now that you say it, like Quitoriano, um, I definitely would have said Quitoriano or something like that. But no, good job on the pronunciation
Thank
of
you.
that.
I'm gonna go Houston Texans. Again, as Austin says, when you need so much, it's easy to get enamored with how many players they draft. But I
Hmm.
actually like the way they drafted. I'm gonna give them a B plus. I think Derek Stingley, a great cornerback out of LSU. I love that John Mechie pick in round 2. I think he would have been a good candidate for the Packers too. Maybe trading up in the second round to get him. But also the Thomas Booker from Stanford, dude is an absolute beast. If you look him up, his biceps are the size of my head.
Hmm.
So
That's pretty
granted,
fucking big.
yeah, granted they don't know who their quarterback is, but at the moment, I think they made themselves a little bit better out of the draft.
Yeah, I'm gonna go A minus on this one, Tyler. I really like the Stingley pick. They bolster up that offensive line a little bit more with Kenyon Green. I agree with you as well. I almost would have rather had the Packers, hold their picks and just take John Mechie if he was gonna still be there at that position. Obviously, you can never predict the future. Um, not not familiar with Thomas Booker there, but if you say he's got biceps the size of
Look
your
it up.
head,
Look it up.
all
Thomas
right,
Booker, Stanford.
let's see.
You gotta go to Valdosta State tab. That's not a great picture. The picture I saw was a side profile.
I mean, he's a sturdy boy for sure.
He gets 30.
You can just tell, like, some of these guys are cut. This dude is just like a large human. He looks like he can move some bodies.
He's a large milkshake from Culver's.
Yeah. I don't know, Culver's. Is that a Florida thing?
Culver's is actually a Wisconsin thing. You should know that being a Packers fan. But
I don't venture out of Green Bay too much when I go to Wisconsin. Just
next
stay
time you're in
around
Green
Lambeau.
Bay, Wisconsin, Lambeau Field, look up the nearest Culver's. Thank me later. Get the cheese curds. You're welcome.
We got Love Alec coming through with the raid. The Raiders.
Raid! Oh, I can't say that out loud. My dog.
Appreciate the raid here. We're still rocking with the No Low podcast, dipping into the Monday Night Gaming a little bit, but we're getting into the NFL draft recap. Tyler, it's a big part of football, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, probably the last time we'll be able to talk about football unless something minute happens that we might want to touch on.
Mm-hmm.
Someone doing donuts in the parking lot in Wesley Chapel. Oh wait, that did happen. Chicago Bears wide receiver.
Oh, that was bad.
Yeah. Next we have Indianapolis Colts, no first round picks. This draft, they get Alec Pierce at wide receiver from Cincinnati. Probably one of the low-key, teams to draft out of Cincinnati, having, an undefeated season before losing in the playoffs. Tight end Jelani Woods out of Virginia. Bernhard Rayman out of Central Michigan. Nick Chris Cross out of Maryland, Eric Johnson out of Missouri State, Andrew Ogletree, Youngstown State, Curtis Brooks out of Cincinnati, and Rodney Thomas II. They love their Cincinnati boys, and they also love their tight ends in Indianapolis. I wonder if Matt Ryan had any say in this draft, saying that they wanted to go tight end, which, I thought they had, decent tight ends with Mo Alley-Cox and
Doyle.
Doyle, yeah.
No, yeah, I thought so as well.
But I mean, as you can see below, Jelani Woods, that was a big name that the Colts drafted. Very athletic. They're saying that he's probably gonna, start week 1. So that was a big pickup by the Colts. They really didn't need, if we remember correctly, any offensive line. They have one of the best in the league. They also really didn't need many defensive players. So I think, they addressed the best pick at the position that they got. So I'm going to give nothing sexy. I'm going to give the Colts a B. I think it was a very average draft for them. I think, as I said, they just got players that they thought were the best value at the pick that they had.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a B as well. Nothing too crazy. The Woods pick, obviously, this guy is going to be more of a receiving weapon. Mo Alley-Cox, Jack Doyle, the bigger body guys. I don't want to call them flat-footed per se because they've done their fair share of catching from that tight end position, but definitely gives Matt Ryan another weapon, as does Alec Pierce. They have Michael Pittman. Paris Campbell, see what's going on with T.Y. Hilton. But yeah, I'll agree with you on the B. Not much to say here.
Next up, Jacksonville Jaguars, who had the first overall pick, decided to go Trayvon Walker from Georgia, round 1. Later in that round, Devin Lloyd, linebacker out of Utah. Then went center Luke Fortner out of Kentucky, Chad Muma out of Wyoming. Running back, Snoop Connor out of Mississippi. Gregory Jr. out of Ochita Baptist. Is that even a college? And then Monterey Brown out of Arkansas. I've never even heard of Ochita Baptist. That sounds like that made-up high school that played in on ESPN that one time.
Yeah, it sounds like a joke, like Ligma or something. Like,
I wanted to
try
say,
to suck this dick or something.
yeah, I wanted to say horchata, which is a drink that
Hmm.
they drink a lot in Puerto Rico, but um, I, Jaguars are gonna Jaguars, and
Hmm.
that's all I have to say about this. That Trayvon Walker should have been an
Yeah.
Aiden Hutchinson pick. I didn't really understand that. I think there was a lot of hype in Trayvon Walker's athletic ability rather than his actual play style. I feel like they made up for it a little bit with Devin Lloyd. I think he's going to be a decent linebacker, pairing up with Josh Allen, not the quarterback. And then again, addressing their needs. Although Snoop Conner don't really understand that with Trayvon or Travis Etienne and what's his name, James Robinson in the backfield.
Hmm.
So I think they got a lot of players that they needed. I'm gonna have to go B minus because I think it was just a bonehead pick
Hmm.
at number one. Not going Aiden Hutchinson. I think if they got Aiden Hutchinson, then Devin Lloyd, that Jaguars defense would be nasty, and they would definitely be an A minus in my pick.
Yeah. What'd you end up giving them?
B minus.
Yeah, I might even dip a little bit lower and say C plus. I think they fumbled the bag on that first overall pick. Aiden Hutchinson, I think he just has more of that, star power, generational type of talent. Trayvon Walker, nothing. You can't say he's a bad player. Obviously, he was going one or two either way. I just think he kind of maybe shined a little bit brighter because he was under the spotlight a little bit more. Georgia, more of a prolific team playing in the SEC. They get a lot better recruits rather. Devin Lloyd, solid pick. I wish they would have bolstered up that offensive line a little bit more. We saw, in his rookie season, um, having a brain fart again.
Travis
Um,
or Trevor Lawrence.
Lawrence, yeah, he was under duress, a lot of pressure. The receiver situation. Who do they have? They have uh, Lavishka and like not a lot of guys, right?
They had Marvin Jones.
Marvin Jones, but like they don't have a stud guy. They didn't have a lot of other picks. I think they're probably still in a rebuilding type scenario, so it's not like win now where they would have traded a future first round pick to move up and grab a better receiver. But I don't love it from the Jaguars. And again, that probably just kind of reflects of the organization and the team and kind of the struggles that they're dealing with right now. So I'll go C plus, right on par with Pro Football
I
Focus.
mean, honestly, Jaguars, what they should have done was traded back, in my opinion. Maybe get more value where they would have been able to get, one of those wide receivers to a team that has two first round picks, really. So
Hmm.
just say, for instance, there's a team that has two kind of mid picks. Maybe trade back to the Giants and then, get another pick out of that and then trade back again or whatever the case may be where you get that player that you need. I don't think they needed Trayvon Walker more than they needed a wide receiver uh, in their room. But that's just
Yeah,
me.
yeah. What do we know?
Yeah. Next up, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, who many say probably had one of the best drafts in this draft. Uh, Drafting Trent McDuffie out of Washington, cornerback, edge rusher George Karlaftis, the Greek freak out of Purdue, wide receiver Sky Moore out of Western Virginia, who a lot of people were surprised fell that far. Safety Brian Cook out of Cincinnati, Leo Chenal out of Wisconsin, Joshua Williams out of Fayetteville State, didn't even know that was college. Tackle Darian Kennard out of Kentucky, Jalen Watson out of Washington State, Isaiah Pacheco out of Rutgers, and Nazee Johnson out of Marshall. Again, Austin, another draft where the team just drafted exactly what they needed.
Hmm.
Kansas City needed defense. They knew that they were losing Tyrann Mathieu, who has now signed with the Saints. They bolstered up their secondary, getting Trent McDuffie, who some say is, probably at the top 3 to top 5 player in this draft in terms of cornerbacks. Edge rusher George Karlaftis. Watched a little film on him. That dude's a fucking stud. He's huge. He
Mm.
is literally a Greek freak. But Sky Moore, probably their best pick to fill in for Tyreek Hill. So I think I have the Chiefs, Austin. I really do. I think they drafted very smart. They drafted very well here. I got to give them an A. It's I can't give them an A plus because I think it's just the Chiefs for me. But I think they drafted very very well for what they needed.
Yeah, no, I think the Chiefs hit this draft out of the park. I am going to give them an A plus. However, Tyler, you know, they did what the Packers should have done. They traded up into the first round, to get their guy Trent McDuffie, like you said, one of the top cornerbacks in this draft. Sky Moore. If you look at it, Tyler, this is pick 24 in the second round. Packers would have been there right at 22. I almost would have liked them drafting Sky Moore, better than the North Dakota State. My cousin getting drafted here, safety Brian out of Cincinnati, solid pick there. Um, you know, look at all these picks. One, two, three, four, five picks within the first 3 rounds. I mean, the Chiefs, they went out, they did their thing. Another team, perennial, great drafting team, just like the Baltimore Ravens. I think
The
they did it.
Packers,
Yeah.
typically.
Ah, yes and no. They draft and develop, but they could draft a lot better and develop,
Yeah.
better players. But they do a good job with what they have. So yeah, I think this is an A plus. Like you said, they got a decent enough guy to replace Tyreek. Obviously they still have Robinson and what was the other guy, wide receiver for the Chiefs. I'm just not in football mode right now. Their second guy.
Robinson does not play for the Chiefs anymore. Robinson plays for the Raiders now.
Who am I thinking of? All right, they got Juju. I was thinking of Hardman. That's what I meant. And they got Josh Gordon. Jeez, Chiefs. Jesus. Chiefs got some fucking weapons out here. It's like everyone's talking shit about them losing Tyreek Hill. They got Juju, MVS, which Jesus, MVS with Patrick Mahomes' arms could be fucking detrimental to the league. Mecole Hardman, Josh Gordon, Sky Moore, Corey Coleman. That's pretty sturdy right there, T.
Detrimental to the league.
You add in Travis Kelce in that mix. That's gonna be dangerous. But yeah, I'll give the Chiefs an A plus.
Well, we get to the main event.
Mm.
Las Vegas Raiders hosting the draft in Vegas. No first round picks this year, obviously, because we just had to go out and get the best wide receiver in the league, Devontae Adams. So for that, automatically up to an A minus in my mind. But round 3, we start off day 2. Dylan Parham, guard out of Memphis. Zamir White, running back out of Georgia, round 4. Neil Farrell Jr., LSU D-line. Matthew Butler, D-line, Tennessee, round 5. Thayer Mumford out of Ohio State, guard. And Britton Brown out of UCLA, running back, round 7. I will say, Austin, I can tell a difference of management styles and coaching styles that we see here. I think this might be the most logical draft that the Raiders have had in the past 25 years, because we just got guys that made sense to what we needed. Dylan Parham, we addressed the guard issues, well, our whole offensive line in general. So we get a guard, and then we get the other guard to protect the interior for Derek Carr. I love that Thayer Mumford pick. I think that's a very, very good a pick value-wise in round 7. Dude's big-bodied. And I think he works well in McDaniel's offense. And also I think Zamir White and Britton Brown work well in McDaniel's offense. You're really seeing the different type of coaching style where John Gruden really liked to go run. That's why he got his guy Josh Jacobs. And now you're seeing McDaniel say, well, we're not going to sign Josh Jacobs to that 5th-year option. So now you're probably going to see Josh Jacobs on his last year contract with the Raiders, and they're finding his replacement because there's McDaniels, being Patriots guy, knows that running backs are disposable, and he got 2 in this draft while also signing 2. I'm going to give the Raiders a B+. I do like a lot of their picks. Do I think they could have gone a little bit better? Yes. I like I said earlier in the show, I wish they actually got Sean Ryan at this 90 pick right here. And I also wish they got Barno at linebacker in the 5th round. They had a few different opportunities to get him. I think that would have bolstered our defense and also our offense a little bit better, but I still think they drafted pretty well. Probably, like I said, Austin, a B plus, because I'm just shocked that they drafted logically.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it a stack of flapjacks with you. I think the Raiders draft is completely abysmal. They get the backup running back for Georgia. They draft Munford and Sons. I mean, what are they doing out here, Tyler? Their offensive line needs so much help. They get a guard in the 3rd round, and then they wait until the 7th round again to get another offensive lineman. But it's not all their fault, Tyler. I'm just kind of poking a little bit of fun. They didn't have any picks in the first 2 rounds. So it's like, what can they do really? There's not a lot of value there at those picks. I, like you said, they went out and they gave all they had to the Packers to get Devontae Adams. I don't think that he's gonna make that team a Super Bowl contending team, but clearly, they did all they could in this draft. However, I don't think it was great. Um, I'm gonna go out there and give them a solid C.
Wow. I mean, I do like their defensive interior picks, Matthew Butler and Neil Farrell. I think they will be a great addition to Chandler Jones and Max Crosby, but neither here nor there. I mean, see, that's just harsh. Jesus.
Well, yeah, like I said, I gave them a little bit of credit. I said it wasn't all their fault. They didn't have a lot of picks.
I mean, but I feel like that wasn't a C-worthy draft. I feel like they made do with what they had.
Yeah, but you can't grade on that. If you're getting points per round, they lost most of their points in the first 2 rounds without having any picks.
Whatever.
If they had 1 pick in the first round and they drafted the best guy, you can't say they got an A plus because they only had 1 pick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also the Raiders, if you watch the draft, which obviously you didn't, they traded a lot of their picks too away. So I think they have a lot more picks in next year's draft, which I think they're probably waiting for because it'll be another year McDaniels is in, figure out what they're doing, to bolster up for the Las Vegas Super Bowl, which I will be attending because the Raiders will be in it. So, yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Next up, Los Angeles Chargers, another AFC West rival. First round, Zion Johnson, Boston College, J.T. Woods, Isaiah Spiller out of Texas A&M, Otito Ogbonia out of UCLA, Jamari Saylor out of Georgia, Jasir Taylor out of Wake Forest, Deion Leonard out of Mississippi, and Xander Horvath out of – what a fucking name. Wow. Chargers drafted really well here. I like a lot of their picks. I think they picked a lot of great guys, especially Zion Johnson, probably the best guard out of the draft out of Boston College. So I've heard Otito Ogbonnia out of UCLA is also a very good pick. So I think, Chargers drafted really well. I mean, shit, this team's going to be a very good team out of this AFC West. I think probably the favorite to win it, in my opinion, with getting Khalil Mack. Opposite side of Bosa, Herbert coming into his own. I think this team is pissed off after not making the playoffs last year. I think they drafted really well. I think they made their team a lot better. I'm gonna go A- on this one.
That's a little high for me in my opinion. I think they did a good job. I don't think it was anything crazy. They got Herbert some help there on the offensive line. That was huge. JT Woods in the secondary, Derwin James. I don't know, Tyler. I don't think he had that great of a year last year. He was hurt for most of it, so definitely kind of giving him some help in the secondary. Isaiah Spiller, solid pick right there. They got some cornerbacks, so clearly they were hurting in the secondary. Like you said, they got Mack and Bosa up front. Not too much to worry about. Offensive line, I think they did enough. Nothing jumps off the board at me. I'll give them a B plus.
I also have to give him a little extra credit for Xander Horvath, just a fucking absolute crazy name. Los Angeles Rams up next. No first 2 round picks. Decide to go tackle Logan Bruce out of Wisconsin first. Jacoby Durant, South Carolina State cornerback. Kyron Williams, running back. Quentin Lake, UCLA safety. Darian Kendrick, Georgia cornerback, Daniel Hardy, edge, Montana State, Russ East, Kansas State, and AJ Akuri, Michigan State. Tackle, kind of filling in the blanks for what the Rams need. Definitely need a lot of help up front. I don't think that they address that well. Obviously, the Rams aren't going to have a lot of picks, in the upcoming years after trading everybody to get the team that they had last year. I'm going to actually agree with this PFF draft grade with a C+. Again, nothing crazy. I think they did exactly what they had to do. But they just didn't have the value, I think, in terms of their picks. So I think they could have done a little bit better, maybe snag some guys that, maybe would have been a lot better value instead of, McVay's the guy that's going to grab those guys that he thinks that are good in his eyes, just like Bill Belichick does. So, I'm going to go C+ on this one.
I'm actually going to go C-. Again, no first or second round draft picks for the Rams this year. I don't really look at any of these guys on this list and say they can be starters week one. Obviously Rams went out, they got all their guys in free agency. I don't think they really cared much about this draft, to be honest, Tyler, because, after all the guys they're paying last year and this year leave, they're just going to be left in shambles and they're going to have to start from the ground up. So I don't even, view that they were too keen on drafting guys of the future here, because I think maybe a season or two from now, they're going to have to start all over again.
Next up, Miami Dolphins, 4 picks, so this should be quick. Channing Tindall out of Georgia, round 3. Wide receiver Eric Azukanama out of Texas Tech. Edge Cameron Good out of Cal. And QB Skylar Thompson out of Kansas State, round 7. Obviously, no first-round picks after getting Tyreek Hill. I'm probably going to have to give him a C+. Again, they really didn't get anybody sexy to me. I think they went, off of the hype of a Georgia player with Channing Tindall. A team that got what they needed in terms of picks. Do I think they should have reached in terms of getting another quarterback with Skylar Thompson? Probably not. Could have probably got Justin Ross and made this draft a little bit better. Wide receiver out of Clemson, bolstered that wide receiver room a little bit more with Tyreek Hill. But, I'm going to give him a C. C+?
I think so.
C+ on this one.
Yeah, I'll give them a B-. Obviously, they didn't have a lot of picks, but you got to factor in the Tyreek Hill trade to this one. I wish they would have gone a little bit higher on quarterback. Obviously, Tua is their guy as of right now. But with that being said, they're really forming a team around him. So if he comes, to get injured, or maybe he isn't their guy, they're going to be kind of shorthanded there without a solid backup. Next
up, Minnesota Vikings. Lewis Cine out of Georgia, safety. Andrew Booth Jr., Nate Nasty's cousin, out of Clemson. Ed Ingram out of LSU, guard. Linebacker Brian Asamoah out of Oklahoma. Cornerback Akalebe Evans out of Missouri. I think I killed that.
A Caleb? I don't know.
Akalebe.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Edge Ezzy Otamiao.
Meow.
Running back Ty Chandler out of North Carolina. Vedrian Lowe out of Illinois. Jalen Naylor, wow, out of Michigan State. And Nick Muse out of South Carolina, rounding it up. Well, first off, fucking crazy-ass names.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know why, but...
maybe the craziest names to one team in this whole draft.
I felt like I was having a fucking stroke right there for a second.
I mean, that might be the hardest back-to-back we've seen. A Caleb Evans and a CZ Atomiao.
Well, don't forget Asamoah before that.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a white-ass name in Brian with an Asamoah at the end of it. But I think the Vikings drafted really well here. I do love that Lewis Cine pick at 32, safety out of Georgia. I think they really bolstered the non-sexy positions. They got their secondary, they got their line, they got their linebackers. They got Ty Chandler, who is actually one of the highest rated running backs out of this draft in round 5, to back up Dalvin Cook.
Was that
And
the
then,
guy who was like breaking all the records? Or no,
yes,
no, that was Michael Carter last year, right?
Ty Chandler he was an absolute stud this season.
Hmm.
Although North Carolina absolutely sucked, but the guy, I think I forget what they were saying on ESPN, but this guy's going to be a pretty dynamic back, especially being a backup to Dalvin Cook. So I mean, I like the way the Vikings drafted. They got a lot of things that they needed. Obviously, they're going to ride with Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. So I'm gonna give them an A minus. I think they did a lot of things that they needed to do and really help their team succeed.
Yeah, I'll give the Vikings a B plus on this one. Obviously, you know, at the very least for quantity over quality, that with the amount of picks they had. I do like Tyler. They went three SEC players in a row. For me, at least, my formula, like we're talking about, we're a big fan of formulas here. When in doubt, go the SEC route. If you don't know if this guy is going to be good compared to, say a Division 1A or a smaller Division 1 FBS school, just go with the guys that play against top tier NFL talent, for half their season, if not more. They got Lewis signed out of Georgia, Booth out of Clemson, and Ingram out of LSU. I think those are just like safe picks, solid picks. The risk versus reward is pretty low for that. I think the floor and the ceilings are right around the same area. So I think solid draft overall. I'll give them a B plus.
Next up, New England Patriots, who I would say Austin is my biggest loser for this draft.
Yeah.
Absolute question marks all over the board. First round, Cole Strange at guard from Chattanooga. Second round, wide receiver Tyquan Thornton out of Baylor. Cornerback Marcus Jones out of Houston. Jack Jones, cornerback out of Arizona State. Pierre Strong Jr. out of South Dakota State at running back. Bailey Zapp, quarterback out of Western Kentucky. Kevin Harris, running back out of South Carolina. Edge, Sam Roberts, which isn't Sam Roberts a college? That confused me. Northwest Missouri State.
Mm-hmm.
Guard Chasen Hines out of LSU, and tackle Andrew Stuber out of Michigan. It's almost like the last two picks made the most sense, but everything before that just made absolutely zero sense. If
Yeah.
there's any team that knows how to pick the weirdest fucking schools out there, here it is. Lo and behold, New England Patriots, Chattanooga, South Dakota State, Northwest Missouri State. Like, I don't even know any alumni that came out of those schools. Second off, why are you drafting two running backs in, the first, 6 rounds, I guess you could say? They already have all the running backs in the world. I feel like they have Damian Harris, who's probably had one of the best seasons a running back could have last season. He had a touchdown a game practically.
Mm-hmm.
Then they go 4th round, Bailey Zapp, after having Mac Jones Rookie of the Year almost. And you're drafting a quarterback in the 4th round where, most guys don't even get drafted that need a quarterback in this year's draft in the 7th. So whatever Bill Belichick is having, pass it on to me. I want to see what this guy is seeing because I don't understand this at all. This is an F fucking draft right here. L in the chat or F in the chat for the New England Patriots. Absolutely disgusting draft. I don't even want to think that there's any positives because I don't know what the fuck he was thinking of as in Bill Belichick. Just absolutely horrible, terrible, horrendous.
Yeah, it's hard to question the mind of Bill Belichick, but I'm questioning it right now, Tyler. It almost looks like he had his eyes closed and he was throwing a dart on a dartboard with all the players' names on there. The only positive for me in this one is Chasen Hines because, goddamn it, is that a great name? What's your boy? Yo, he's out there chasing Hines. Like, that's hilarious.
Technically, you put a little atandre or whatever the fuck those things are called on the E and it'd be chasing Hines.
Oh, I like that. Heine's. And we're not talking about Heineken's. Aha.
Aha.
But yeah, no, Tyler, just pretty much like you said, two running backs, a quarterback. I don't understand it. Cole Strange out of Chattanooga. Everyone is saying like this guy would have gone mid-second round. Definitely one of the biggest, if not the biggest, reaches in the draft. So for me, I'll go. I can't go F on this one. They did have a lot of picks, and we'll see how they pan out. It is Bill Belichick. I can't fully, you know, jump
F.
ship on him, but
F.
I'll go a D on this one.
F. Next up, New Orleans Saints, first year without former coach Sean Payton. I had to think about that one. We're not in football
No,
season
not
mode
at
right
all.
now.
Not at all.
I'm having a brain lapse. A lot of people hated this draft. I kind of like their picks. Chris Olave, first round out of Ohio State, offensive tackle Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa in the first round as well. Round 2, they got Alontae Taylor out of Tennessee. Then they waited day 3, I think, with DeMarco Jackson out of App State and defensive line. Jordan Jackson out of Air Force in round 6. The reason why I really like this is a lot of people were hating on their first 2 picks in this year's draft. I actually really love them. I think Chris Olave is going to fit really well with the scheme that they have with Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. I think he's a perfect slot wide receiver, very fast, very good. And then Trevor Penning, they just lost their tackle. I forget what his name was, but their starting tackle that they had for a while. I think this is a great filler. He's 6'7", as you can see. Oh, Taron Armstrong, it's right there. They lost Taron Armstrong. It's a great filler for him. Obviously, it's not Taron Armstrong, but it's the next best thing. So I think they drafted really well day 1. I'm gonna give them a B. Not a lot of picks after that. Not a lot of great picks after that. The Saints, they're going to be one of those teams that are going to be interesting to see because they do have a lot of talent, but they also don't. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, solid picks for what they have there. I love the first 2 picks. Other than that, it's kind of, run-of-the-mill type players. Jordan Jackson, thank you for your service. Other than that, I'm going to have to say B- on the Saints.
Next up, New York Football Giants. First 2 picks in this year's first round, edge Kayvon Thibodeau out of Oregon, offensive tackle Evan Neal out of Alabama, wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson, Kentucky. I'm just going to name, probably the
probably
first
speed
2.
round a little bit.
Yeah,
We're going deep into this episode.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I love the way the Giants drafted. I'm going to give them an A-. I honestly think they got 2 first-round draft picks in the 2 first-round picks that they had. And by first round, I mean number 1 overall. Kayvon Thibodeau obviously fell. I think he should have been, a top 3 pick. I think he's better than Trayvon Walker that the Jaguars drafted, but that's hearsay. And Evan Neal, I think, is probably the best offensive lineman in this year's draft. Depending on who you're asking and what team is picking. But I think they really bolstered that offensive line that needs to be bolstered for Saquon and also added pressure on the defensive side. So I'm gonna go A- on this. I think they did draft a lot of players, but I think the first 2 picks really set them apart from a lot of teams, and I think they drafted really well, and did a lot of things that are gonna help their team throughout the season.
Yeah, I'll give the Giants a solid A on this one. I do like Thibodeau. I think he's a great value at that pick, obviously. And then you get Evan Neal. Anytime you have 2 picks inside the top 10, that's a W draft right there. They get some weapons for
Daniel.
Daniel Jones.
Daniel.
Daniel. Damn, Daniel. He's got some weapons.
Daniel.
Damn, Daniel. But no, there's a lot of variety. Again, they had a lot of picks there. I like what they did with it.
Beavers.
They got a tight end there. They got, defensive guys. McFadden out of Indiana. I saw him play a little bit. He's going to be solid there. Especially outside of what? They just lost Kyler Fackrell.
No shot that you're seeing Indiana play football.
I told you I saw a lot of fucking college football this season.
Who we got next?
Tyler's not a fan.
New York Jets. Who Austin is my biggest. Oh, they were my second biggest winner. So I almost blew that one. The Jets, absolute W first round draft. Getting Sauce, my boy Saucy Gardner out of Cincinnati, cornerback. Garrett Wilson, wide receiver at the 10 pick. Jermaine Johnson, edge, 26. Breece Hall out of Iowa State. Jeremy Ruckert out of Ohio State, Max Mitchell out of Louisiana, and Michael Clemens out of Texas A&M. I'm gonna say the first, let's see, 2, 4, 5 picks, absolute fucking golden. They did a
Mm.
really good job in this draft. They addressed the defensive side of it. Jermaine Johnson is an absolute stud. I'm surprised he dropped that far. Brees Hall is a good Iowa State product, running back, and Jeremy Ruckert um, is an absolute stud too. I think they drafted really well. I know it's the Jets. I got to give them an A. I think the only reason why I can't give them an A plus is because it's the Jets. But I mean, the first 3 picks were just phenomenal. Garrett Wilson, I think, is going to be an absolute stud in this league, and I think Jermaine Johnson is too. I think they just drafted very well for once in their lives. I don't know what it was in the
Yeah.
water, but they did it.
Yeah, they did something over there. No, I think the 3 picks in the first round put the Jets in that A category echelon. I'm not sure, Tyler. We saw flashes of Zach Wilson last year. Not sold that he's their guy yet. I think they should definitely give him another year or two. However, I don't know if they were like not trying to send a negative message by not drafting a quarterback at all. I think, round 2, 36, what's his face from Cincy was still there. Willis, right, was still there. I think that could have been a value pick. They got Carter in the draft last year at the running back position. They got Tevin Coleman. I don't think they need a running back there. Even though Brees Hall, I do like him. I think he's going to be a stud. Um, Jermaine Johnson. Yeah, I think the Brees Hall pick was just a value pick, the best player available at that time. I would have liked them to pick a lineman, at 36 overall, but I'll give the Jets an A minus.
Next up, Philadelphia Eagles, who won the draft for me, Austin. Biggest
Hmm.
W. Obviously not drafting, but trading. Getting A.J. Brown in the first round. Trading them to the Tennessee Titans, who then drafted Treylon Burks. But they got Jordan Davis, Cam Jurgens or Jurgens. I guess we'll find out.
Hmm.
N'Kobe Dean, Kyron Johnson, and Grant Calcaterra.
Hmm.
Wow, that one. Woo. Um,
Had you going
Austin,
for it?
these guys are my biggest winners, and I'll explain why. Not only is it AJ Brown bolstering that terrible wide receiver core with Philadelphia, an elusive player that is almost like a Debo Samuel where he can run, he can also catch the ball. But they got Jordan Davis, who I think is probably one of the most exciting draft prospects in this draft. 6'6", 350-pound dude. Absolutely huge. Fletcher Cox is on his final year in his contract. Jordan Hargrave also. And then getting Cam Jurgens out of Nebraska. If there's one thing about Big Ten football, it's that they have really good offensive linemen, and Cam Jurgens is going to be there to, when Jason Kelsey is ready to retire. And then N'Kobe Dean, absolute value pick. I think he's one of the better linebackers. One of the better defensive players out of Georgia. I think it was such a smart pick and a great pick. I'm surprised he fell that far. But the Eagles are definitely my winner of this draft because I feel like they gained the most and made their team so much more better in this draft, trading and also drafting. I think they're one of the favorites to win the NFC East, if
Yeah,
not the
well,
favorite.
that's not saying much. I mean, with the
True,
competition over there.
true.
No, the Eagles had a solid draft. I'm trying to think. I guess with the AJ Brown trade, I would get them as my winners of the night. However, Jordan Davis, solid pick. I don't like the Dean pick, Tyler. With all those injuries, you can see why he slid down so far in the draft. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we never saw this guy play a full season of football. Obviously there is the potential for that being the steal in the draft, but I want to say he was like a 3 or 4 year guy, sustaining all those injuries, playing at such a high level of college football. I think his prime may be in his past at this point. So if you count that, if you count him out, they're left with only 4 draft picks after trading for AJ Brown. I think it's solid. I'll give him an A for this one, Tyler, simply because of AJ Brown. I don't hate um Geez, Tyler, what are we doing tonight, man? I'm just, I'm having like such brain farts. I don't hate Hurts. I think they need another year for him to develop. They got Devontae Smith in the draft last year. Obviously, AJ Brown's gonna help them. They still have Goddard over the middle. Um, but I don't know that the Eagles. That I guess you could say they're favorites in the NFC East, but I still don't think they've hit that next kind of level, if you will.
All right, next up, Pittsburgh Steelers. Kenny Pickett, first overall quarterback drafted pick 20, round 1 out of Pittsburgh, as we've spoken on. And then one of my favorite picks, George Pickens out of Georgia, wide receiver in the second round. I think George Pickens, look up the tape. This guy's an absolute black Air Force One energy type of dude. He's a menace to society. I'll say no more. Just look him up if you have the time at night. Look up George Pickens. This dude will go out on the field, ruin your day, like you did something to him personally outside the field when he was 5 years old, like you kicked his mama or something. But
Is he a day one replacement for Juju?
yes, I think George Pickens is a stud. I think he's going to be a very physical and big wide receiver, just like Juju was. And honestly, he just fits that AFC North energy. Like this dude, it just radiates. You're gonna be coming across the middle as Kyle Hamilton as the Baltimore Ravens when they face every other week or whatever the case may be. And George Pickens is gonna come across and clean clock you. I love this pick. I'm going to give the Steelers a B. Obviously, getting Kenny Pickett, I think, is a great pick. I do like the guy a lot. I think they drafted a lot of needs, getting another wide receiver out of Memphis, and obviously getting another quarterback out of South Dakota State. Don't know what's going on there, but I think the Steelers drafted their two guys that they really, really wanted, and I think they drafted well.
I'm gonna give the Steelers a B minus. I don't think Kenny Two Gloves was the first quarterback that should have been off the board. Pickens. Now that you mention it, Tyler, I think he's definitely a solid wide receiver there. I mean, they already have Claypool and they have Deontay Johnson. I don't really know that they needed another receiver at this pick right here. And then again to go back for receiver in the fourth round, again they got Leal, edge rusher out of A&M. I like that pick. I think that the Steelers' hand was kind of forced, to take a quarterback in the first round. I just don't think Pickett's going to be their guy, so I'm going to give him a B minus.
Next up, 49ers. Honestly, no real big picks here. I would say Tyreek Castro Fields, former Penn State great cornerback, absolute stud at cornerback, if I remember correctly. I don't really see many guys that I really love, Austin. Chime in if you do see one that you know of. But
I watched a little film on Danny Gray out of SMU. I kind of wish the Packers got him.
Yep. I'll give the 49ers a C plus. I mean, they had a lot of. It looks like they filled in a lot of positions that they needed. Especially at the tackle position, the secondary position. So I mean C plus. No real value picks in my mind, but I could be wrong.
C minus for the Niners. Moving on.
Wow. Seahawks, who a lot of people feel like had a great draft. Getting Charles Crisscross out of Mississippi State, offensive tackle, Boy Mafe, edge, and then big one, Kenneth Walker the third, running back out of Michigan State, and then another one of my favorites of this draft, Austin, Kobe Bryant out of Cincinnati, cornerback. I'm going to give the Seahawks a B plus. I think they drafted Charles Cross with the intentions of bolstering up that line. But I love that Kenneth Walker pick because Chris Carson always seems to be getting injured. He's a great value pick in the second round. I think a B plus is fair. I just think they filled a lot of the positions that they needed. The biggest question mark, obviously, who's going to be leading the team out in the field at quarterback for the Seahawks. I don't know. I thought they might have addressed that in the draft. I think that's why I wouldn't go higher.
I think
Um,
Hasselback's gonna turn in the microphone and suit up for another season.
bring back fucking what's that dude's name? Tavares
Oh
Jackson.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, then I think they might have Geno Smith, right?
Oh, they do.
Unless he got traded, I don't even know.
I don't know. Baker's still out there. Jimmy Garoppolo's still out there. I don't know what's the deal with those guys, but
Hmm.
there's a lot more that's gonna happen in this NFL, off season. A lot more.
We still got some more headlines, Tyler. So what grade you give them?
B plus.
I'll give them a B minus. I don't love it. Obviously they didn't address the quarterback situation. Kenneth Walker got to be the most Seahawks pick of all time. Just another stud college football running back that has a history of injuries. I don't know if Marshawn Lynch put a curse on the running back room in Seattle since he left Tyler, but it's like Chris Carson, Rashad Penny, uh, CJ Procise, like all these guys, like they're good, and then they just can't stay healthy for a year. I Kenneth Walker, I think he's a very good running back. I think he'll have a good season, and I think he'll get hit with the injury bug. So don't love it, but I don't hate it from the
Damn,
Seahawks.
cruel world. Next up, Tampa Bay Bucks. No first round picks. I think they traded out. Yeah, they did trade out. One pick that I love out of this one, round 5, Zion McCollum out of Sam Houston State, absolute stud. Not a lot of big games against big teams, but he had a great combine. That's why they loved him. I'm gonna go, B minus. I don't think that it was a crazy amount of great players that were drafted here. They did address not signing Nagam. Jesus Christ, not signing Sue, um, with the D line in the second round. Addressing their tackle position with getting rid of Kappa. I don't know. There's nothing crazy here. Jake Camarda out of Georgia. Why are we drafting the kicker? You had Suckup. I thought he played very well last season. But Bucks are they got Brady, so they're still in
Hmm.
it. B minus.
Yeah. No, I'll give him a solid B in this one. Like you said, Tyler, they kind of went by the book on this one. They went 1-to-1 with the players that they lost with Sue and the lineman there. I kind of would have liked them to get another receiver, maybe a speed guy. I'm trying to think if Sky was there at that,
He was
yeah, at that round
at the
two
second
pick.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to fill in that Antonio Brown kind of role. Clearly, who had a positive impact on that offense last season. Nothing crazy here. I'm gonna give him a B.
Tennessee Titans. Awesome picking your guy Traylon Burks first
Hmm.
round after trading AJ Brown. The other pick that was huge for them was Malik Willis, round 3, 86, quarterback out of Liberty.
Hmm.
Don't really see any big other names, but I'm gonna give the Titans a. Might give them a B plus. They're on the fringe of A minus. I love this Traylon Burks pick. Obviously, they're replacing uh, AJ Brown. I do think this is such a business draft
Hmm.
for the Titans. They didn't want to pay AJ Brown all that money, so they drafted the guy that plays exactly like him. They have Ryan Tannehill. They got rid of Julio. They got rid of AJ Brown, and then they drafted Malik Willis. It's like I don't know if I'm Ryan Tannehill, how I'm
Hmm.
feeling in Tennessee, but again, another addressing of situations that they needed. They needed another cornerback. They needed another tackle to protect Derrick Henry. So I'll give the Titans a B plus. I hope and I think that Malik Willis will be a stud in the NFL. I think he needs to figure out his reads. I think playing with Derrick Henry is going to alleviate a lot of that. But who are they going to throw to this season?
Exactly. That's the main question. Traylon Burks definitely will get a lot of targets. I'll give the Titans an A minus. I love the Burks pick. They go cornerback out of Auburn, SEC, Willis there. Put a little bit of pressure on Ryan Tannehill. This guy's kind of been the incumbent quarterback, year in, year out, just because they haven't had another guy to put pressure on him. Obviously, If you factor in AJ Brown, that might knock him back a few grades. But if they weren't planning on paying him next offseason, Tyler, they probably got rid of a decent chunk of salary, and there still are some wide receivers out there in free agency that they could go after. So I think the Titans did pretty well in this one.
Is this the last one?
It is.
Holy shit! Finally,
Jesus.
Washington Commies. Johan Dotson or Johan or whatever. Don't mess with the Zohan Dotson. Wide receiver out of former Penn State great. My favorite Penn State player this draft. Then they went Alabama with Mathis and Robinson Jr. And then a big one in round 5, Sam Howell, quarterback out of North Carolina. I'm gonna give the Commies a B minus. I do love the Dotson pick at wide receiver, and it's 100% purely biased. I don't think he's gonna be absolutely career changing in Washington.
All right.
Like I said, I think if he went to the Packers, who needed a wide receiver, playing with Rodgers would have absolutely changed his career. I do think he's going to have a great year, though, with the Commanders going off of Terry McLaurin, although they might be too close in relation to each other. I know a lot of people think it was a reach. I don't. I think this guy is a stud. I'll give him – what did I say? Did I say anything? B minus? B minus.
Yeah.
I'm going to go B minus. I think Sam Howell, that's a good pick to replace Carson Wentz in the future. I think he might be, better than Mitchell Trubisky out of North Carolina, but I'm going to go B minus on this one.
Yeah, I'll give him a solid B. The Dotson pick, now you got some more weapons. Other side of Scary Terry. I like the Robinson pick. I think he'll be a good complement to Gibson. Kind of a nice 1-2 punch there. Robinson obviously being the bigger goal line oriented back. Yeah, and then of course you get Mathis there on the defensive side. I think him and Chase Young can complement each other quite well.
Well, first off, the Washington Commanders probably have the scariest defensive line in all of football. They got Chase Young, they got Jonathan Allen, and they got
SWAT.
No, what the fuck is that guy's name? There's 2 guys out of Alabama that they have, and now they're adding another one out of Alabama on defensive line. Shit, what's his name? Dude's fucking big. Darren Payne, that's who it is.
Darren Payne.
Yeah. And Montez Sweat. That's who.
I just said Sweat and you said no.
I thought you said SWAT.
Did I? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I meant Sweat. My bad. Montez.
I don't know.
I knew.
Their defense is kind of scary.
No, they had a solid team. They made the playoffs, right? Or am I mistaken?
I think they just missed it. I mean, they did lose Chase Young early last season.
2 years ago, they made the playoffs, lost to the Bucks, but I thought they snuck in again this year. But yeah, no, Sam Howell, for a while he was a top 5 quarterback in the draft, kind of slid down a little bit into the 5th round. I think that might be the steal of the draft right there, Tyler. So
yeah,
bolstering up another solid team, addressing the quarterback situation. I'll give them a solid draft for sure. All right, Tyler. Someone's got to get to bed, got to work in the morning. I still got to do my streams. I think it was a good one. We gave you guys a B for 1 hour, 50 minutes, Tyler. Almost did a longer 2-hour draft. I don't know. We'll have to talk about it. Maybe we can schedule a Thursday no-look podcast episode if you want to get into any NBA talk. Not sure what your schedule is looking like, but NBA playoffs are underway. The
Thursday,
NHL...
I gotta walk my goldfish at 7 o'clock.
Yeah. Okay, well, his schedule is clearly filled up. The NHL playoffs are going off, but yeah, no, solid episode. Good NFL recap, and we're just
Raiders a C.
We're just out here grinding, bro. It's what we do. We're some grinders.
Raiders a C.
You're lucky they got a freaking C. I could have blasted him with the F-bomb.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. All right. Anyways,
Fuck you.
I'll be right back. Monday Night Gaming. Don't go anywhere. So, yeah, stay tuned. Okay, bye. But don't leave. Oh, but yeah, see you later in a little bit.